Hello channel, welcome back, and welcome if you're new. So today I am going to do something a little different. I am doing some house cleaning today and going through my closets of all of the clothes that I want to donate. I tend to do this a couple times a year, but for sure one time a year. And what I do is I gather all of my clothes that I don't wear, haven't worn in forever. I go through the house too occasionally, like things that I'm not using anymore, cups, I don't even know, if it's like a blender or a food processor or something, I will include that as well. But every year I make a point to donate things to the local, Goodwill, American Veterans, women's shelters, things like that. So that's kind of what I do, as far as my charitable giving, if you will. I haven't really donated my time so much. I have participated in things that, have been for work, like Habitat for Humanity and different things that, like one time I participated in something that you needed to, or one of the women's shelters needed some renovations, painting done, basketball hoops hung up and things like that. And we did that with the company that I worked for, and that was awesome. That was just such an awesome experience. So but yeah, so this is what I do every year. And my mother, this has been something that we've done in our family forever. Ever since, as far back as I can remember, a young adolescent, my mother would gather up all of our clothes and her clothes and things we weren't using in the house and leave it out in paper or plastic bags. That's when they came around to the homes and picked up things. And I think you'd call them and you'd schedule something, they would pick up things. When my mother passed away, I had to clean out her house. And it was also the house that I grew up in. And there were just like tons of things in the house. Furniture, mattresses, clothing, obviously. And chests of drawers and things like that. And we rented a dumpster for a lot of the things, but I could not live with myself knowing that we were just going to be putting all of that stuff in a dumpster and throwing it out when those things could be used by someone else. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So we separated the things out, and her garage was totally full of, mattresses. Sometimes they will take, sometimes they won't, but dressers, chests of drawers, whatever. And so they came and actually picked it up, and it just makes me feel so much better when I do stuff like that. And also you can claim all of that stuff on your taxes as far as donations goes. Just like if you made a monetary donation to an organization, to your church, whatever, you can claim that on your taxes. Now, I know the tax laws have changed over the last 2-3 years, so I don't know who all can claim that. I think you have to, do a long form tax return, if you will, that allows for, individual deductions to be claimed, things like that. Like if you're doing like just a 1040 easy, I'm not sure that they will allow for that. But if you do a long form, I believe you still can. And I don't know what the, maximum amounts are. Maybe they give you a certain amount for donations that an accountant can help you with, or you can look that up. But regardless, and I don't really think it helps my taxes all that much, but I do give it to my accountant and they do include it, but who knows if it really helps all that much or not. So regardless, I do it anyway because it's helping somebody else. So what I do is, what I used to do is I used to, I don't really know what I did on that. Like maybe I would just do a large sum, donations, clothes, miscellaneous household items, whatever, $500. Okay. Well, then I started to list them all out and assign my own value to them, if you will. And that was fine. An accountant really won't, analyze it too much. I mean, how do they know what these items are? Whatever. I mean, as long as you're not like doing something crazy like, oh, this shirt was $500. I mean, they're not going to question it. Or the IRS won't either. I mean, if you are doing something outlandish or something, then it might result in, flagging you for an audit. But otherwise, it won't. So then I somehow, I don't know if it was a boss or somebody, but they turned me on to TurboTax. And there is a area in there called, I think it's called Intuit. And it is their donation recording platform, if you will. And I was like, what? And she's like, oh yeah, you can go in there and set it all up, and they give you a assigned value of the item, that you're putting in there. And then it adds it all up for you and does a report and the whole thing. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I checked it out, and it is the best thing ever. And so that's what I want to tell you guys today, to check that out if you are able to do any kind of donations. So I'll show you like some items that I, pick out, and then I will show you actually the screenshots of what it is to set up an account there, how it works, how you record the items that you're looking to donate, etc. So what I do first is I just gather up all my items that I'm going to donate. So here's a skirt, whatever. And I actually do write them down with the description, so I know kind of what they were. This I would put like long wool skirt, brown, whatever, brown with ruffle or something. Here is a jean jacket. I would put, this is almost looks like a crop jean jacket. So I would put like crop jean jacket, long sleeved or something. Here are a pair of slippers, and I would just put in there, white fuzzy slippers or something. And then here are a pair of black heeled shoes. Looks like maybe kind of a satin or something. So I would put, open-toed, black, high heel satin pumps or something. And so then when I have all of those listed out on a piece of paper, then I will go into this charitable giving donation software in TurboTax. Now, I do not get my taxes done with TurboTax. I don't do them through there. I have an accountant that does mine. But you can still use this software even if you don't use TurboTax. You might have to set up an account or something and whatever. And so I will show you some of the screenshots now and how you put all that together, because what you'll do is there's a whole bunch of different categories. There'll be a women's section, and then there'll be clothing, shoes, outerwear, accessories, whatever. And you just basically have to go through and key in how many of each item in the category there are. Now, there's one time where I was, donating like tons of t-shirts. And so, and they do have like I think a high value and a low value, or a high, middle, and low or something. You'll see it on the screenshots. And so it's like, a couple bucks different here and there. If something is, not valued that high, you're supposed to be honest about it. Like t-shirts, I mean, really, they're probably like $3 to $5. They're not like 15 to 20, unless it's brand new with tag on it or something. But so I will show you these screenshots and how to put all this together. Okay, hold tight. Okay, so now that you have all of your items listed out so that you can reference them as you go along here, you'll want to go out to the TurboTax site and set up your Intuit account. And the website is turbotax.com, and it's the Intuit. And I think it's like a donation, making donations or something like that. And I will list that in the description box below. But after you create your account, you'll want to go in and set up your donation event, if you will. And so this is where you will key in the organization of where you're making that donation, as well as the date. You can key in your donation, and the nice thing is that the program will save your donation organization for future events, if you will. So for this one, I keyed in Goodwill, and I think I just put in some random date. You'll also want to make sure you get a receipt from the organization where you're going to be making the donation, because you'll need to keep that with your tax records. Goodwill will provide you a little slip of paper that, just has their logo on it and the actual date. And then you write in, what the total value is. So you'll want to keep that for your tax records. So then the next screenshot here will show you the various list of items and categories where you can start recording your items. So if you don't have a category that's there, you can create one. I have found that most of my items fit into one of these categories, or, I make it fit into something, if you will. Well, you can see here that there are kitchen items, clothing, footwear, accessories, things like that. So then on this next slide, or this next screenshot, I just selected clothing and footwear. And then further in that, there are a bunch of categories. So for example, there's boys clothing, women's clothing, maternity clothing, things like that. So here in the next screenshot, I selected women's clothing. And you can see that displayed under the yellow search bar up at the top. And then this is where you start keying in your items. So I couldn't include all the various categories, but as you look on the screen, and it's so much easier to do this on a computer, I will say that. But there's a whole bunch of different categories. So there'll be like suits, sweatpants, t-shirts, footwear, all through there. And that's why having all of these items listed on a piece of paper with like a brief description will help you in going through this and kind of figuring out where they go. If this was a high value item or a medium value item. They may have a low value, but I'm not sure on that. Maybe low is like too low of a value to even like donate and include in as part of a donation, if you will, because it's just so low monetarily valued that it doesn't make any sense. So here is where I start keying in all of those items and a brief description, and then it will add up each item that you have. So you'll see here that I've keyed in like a pair of women's dress slacks. Also, with having this all put together, if you have a bunch of short sleeve t-shirts and they're medium value, you can just key in 10 of them, boom, and it'll add it all up for you. As opposed to going in each time, and finding, 3 more, 2 more, whatever. Having them all listed, how many you have, makes it so much easier. So on the next screenshot here, you can see how the system adds up all of the items that you have keyed in. And again, I only keyed in one item, so just for reference. But when I go through and do all of my donations, it'll be adding up all of the items and in the categories that are listed. So I keyed in a pair of women's dress slacks. The high value was $10.47. And at the bottom of that screenshot, you can see the Save Changes button or the Add More Items to this donation. And if you select Add More Items to this, you can, it'll take you back and you can keep adding other items. Up at the top of this slide, there is also an option to print or download a report of all of your items. So if you print it, it'll come up and show you what that's going to look like. I'll show that in the next slide. as well as, if you want to just save it to your computer, you can download that and save it right to your computer. You will also need to provide this with your taxes as well as with the other receipt that you get from the charitable organization where you made the donation, because you should keep all of this with your tax filing paperwork in case you are ever audited. So the next slide shows how that report will look. Again, this is very minimal. It's just a pair of women's dress slacks, but it'll list all the different categories and the items that you have keyed in. Always hit that Save Changes item, or that Save Changes button, so that you can go in and add more items as you go along. I tend to do all of this at the end of the year. For me, that's another good point. You have to do this, and your donations need to be added, or they need to be taken to the charitable organization in the year that you are claiming them. So by the end of December, you have to take your items with a receipt that shows that to the organization like Goodwill. So right now you have, all of the rest of November and December to make those donations. And that receipt from the organization has to show that it was made in this tax year. So basically, this is what I do to make my donations to the various organizations that I have. And a lot of mine, like I said, are clothing donations. I believe in this, there is also a category for monetary donations where you can key in the value of any kind of monetary donations you make, let's say to your church or to a women's shelter, or even, other things that you might do through your own payroll and giving campaigns at your work. A lot of people do various events at their companies that they work for, and if you're able to add up, what your payroll deductions have been for that year, you can include this as well. And I think I've done that before too, actually. So some of those deductions might span, 2 tax years. So if you just print out your, last paycheck in December, you should be able to get that as your year-to-date amount, and then that can be keyed into this as well, and it'll add it up. And then when you print out that report, it'll show all of your clothing donations, it'll list out all of the monetary donations, so that it's all in one report. And that's why I just love this program. I think last year when I went through this, I couldn't find it, or when I looked, it wasn't available. And then I had done some research, and apparently it seemed that people were saying that TurboTax was not going to be doing this anymore. And everybody was just all up in arms over this because it was such a great program. So take advantage of it while you can. Hopefully TurboTax and Intuit will keep this going for a while, but it is just awesome. Just awesome. So hope this information was helpful for you. Like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.